So, thanks, Minerva. Okay, good morning. This is the WellMed Charitable Foundation Caregiver Teleconnection. This morning, we have the honor of having two very special guests, our experts, Dr. Elliot Montgomery Sklar and Lucy Barylak, MSW, and they are going to talk about aging in place. I want to tell you a little bit about these experts. Dr. Elliot Montgomery Sklar is a public health professional with 2 decades of experience in supporting the health of the public through academic work, research, and service. He has led healthy aging programs for seniors and for caregivers in Canada, Florida, and on the internet virtually. And his research is focused, on the complexity of issues related to aging and caregiving. Sorry. Dr. Sklar is an associate professor of healthcare sciences at Nova Southeastern University in Florida. He's also recently published research in the American Journal of Occupational Therapy, the Journal of Applied Gerontology, and the Journal of Social Services Research on themes related to our program. 1 minute, please. Very sorry. Lucy Barylak has a master's degree in social work from McGill University. She's presently working as a consultant for a health network in Montreal, Canada. She's been involved in many various research projects and has published numerous articles related to caregiving issues. She has lectured at several universities and colleges on innovative approaches to caregiving and presents annually at international and national conferences. Lucy is also a consultant for private industry in the United States, including her work with the WellMed Charitable Foundation and their clinics in Texas. Additionally, Lucy would like you to know, a personal note, that she was a caregiver for her mother for 10 years. And with that, Elliot, Lucy, we're so happy to have you.
Thank you so much, Evelyn. I had a bit of an issue with my phone. I don't know why it's off, but anyways, welcome everybody. Hope everybody is well. You know, for many years, we've seen an increasing amount of seniors opting to age in place. Yeah, especially due to the pandemic. This trend has been a result of rising cost of long-term care, coupled with the aging baby boomers generation who have a more active life, vibrant lifestyle than previous generations of seniors. You know, technology and wider availability of seniors, such as home meal delivery service, are making it easier for older adults to remain in their own homes independently, as well as 50+ communities, which are rapidly growing across the country. Even pre-pandemic, most Americans said they wanted to age at home. 76% of those 50 and older, according to a survey done in 2022 by the AARP. According to the latest AARP data from 2021, that it's much more than that. It's 90% of those 50 and older want to age at home. The vast majority of people, over 90% of these are 65 and older, are already doing just that. You know, many older adults have spent decades raising families in their home and want to remain in the home where they're created so many cherished memories as long as they can. Others opt to age in place because the costs of retirement communities, independent living, and assisting living are costly. While it may not be possible for an older adult to live independently forever, there are many changes that can be done at home to make it safer and more functional to remain in your home for as long as possible. By implementing home modification that support aging in place, today's seniors are able to maintain their independence and in the long run may have save substantial amount of money by actually living at home.
This is very, very true. And I think it's also a trend that we're seeing in many housing markets across the country. Until just recently, home prices have risen to record highs along with rents. For many people, the real estate market has made people stuck where they are because of a lack of affordable options to move into. Or if they sold where they currently lived and moved into something else, they would have to significantly scale back on their quality of living. So many people sometimes do opt to downsize and rent as they get older. And if you rent, it can be much harder to make some of the changes that we're going to talk about and that are recommended by a number of different organizations for aging in place, including the National Institute on Aging. So today, we did something very creative and we put together tips that you can really do on a dime, whether you rent or whether you own. And most of the tips that we'll be sharing today cost about $20 or less. So our focus today is really on the resources that you need to think about to age in place. And really right now, for most people, one of those resources is money, which is shaping people's decisions, as I mentioned. Now, with that, a house that you may have lived in, for example, for many years, may not be as ideal as you're getting older, but certainly alterations can be made. And we'll be providing a lot of concrete tips and suggestions. We'll also be providing a copy of our presentation today, so you don't need to worry about writing anything down. The other thing to consider, I think, is that costs of both materials and labor for major home renovations in most areas is quite high. Workers are in demand, and even small things can be rather expensive or challenging. So that's another why as to how it is that we came up with this concept of these smaller changes that can be done on a budget. So without further ado, let's start with our needs. I have had 2 knee surgeries, so I know how challenging it can be to have issues with your knees. Specifically, stairs can be very tough. My parents used to live in a 3-story townhome with laundry in the basement, and my mom had very advanced osteoarthritis. It made it very challenging for her to do laundry. And in reality, she needed a double knee replacement but didn't want to go through with it. So it's something I've become very sensitive to based upon that experience. But as I said, having had orthopedic surgery myself, I've learned, though, that stairs can actually be very helpful in terms of exercise for muscles that support our knees. And I've learned that through physical therapy. Really, this is true for going upstairs, but even more true for going down the stairs, which is something most of us think is pretty easy, but it actually requires more balance and more control that we might consider. All the same, stairs might be a pain point for some people. And if you live, see, we're all having something with our throats today. I think it's just that season. All the same, as I was saying, if stairs are a pain point for some people, if you live in a home with stairs, that might not be an easy workaround. One thing that can be very helpful is to view each floor as an independent living space. So that way you don't have to find yourself going up and down as much. Now, what do I mean by that? For example, if your bedroom is on the 2nd floor, you might want to consider putting a small refrigerator in your bedroom so that you don't have to go downstairs to the kitchen. It's just an example. And a small fridge can run about $100. So that might be the most expensive upgrade that we have to recommend today. If you do have stairs, though, I think it's really important that they're carpeted for many reasons. Now, first of all, you want to avoid falls, but also carpeting provides a little bit of cushioning for the knees, which is very important. Now, if your stairs are not carpeted, again, that can be expensive, but they do make stick-on carpet tiles that you can get from Walmart or Amazon. They run about $10 and they're great. You can cut them to size if you need to. They're very easy to install yourself, and they do come up without damaging surfaces. I know this from my own experience after my knee surgeries. And as I had said, there's another reason. Many falls do happen on wood or tiled stairs. Now, that carpeting helps to make those falls less possible, for lack of a better word. They help to prevent them. I'm sorry, I was at a loss for words. But the padding also, as I was saying, it makes the experience of going up and down the stairs a little less uncomfortable. Now, another thing that can be very hard on our knees, and I know this too from personal experience, is sitting down on a toilet. There are elevated toilet seats that you can buy on Amazon that are not expensive and that are universal to fit either round or oblong toilets. It's a really easy fix to something you already have in your home, as opposed to having to change your toilet to getting a comfort toilet. Now, I should mention those are not too expensive either. You can get them at Home Depot for about $200, but then you have to consider install, which is about $100 if you hire a plumber. But just the same, it might be a worthy investment if it helps you to be more comfortable as you continue to age in your current home. And it makes a huge, huge difference on your joints. You wouldn't believe what the difference of a 1-inch raise on a toilet seat means for having to squat down. So we have also heard from other people who have converted rooms on their first floor into a bedroom, for example, to create an independent living space on one floor, but that can require some additional costs and planning. So for those of you participating today, if you are interested and if you have the financial means and are planning to stay where you are, you may want to engage the help of a certified aging in place specialist who can help you with planning, and you can access them through AARP. We have the link here. You can also work with occupational therapists and with social workers through managed care plans and through your local AAA. They also provide quite similar expertise, so it's important to find out what suggestions others might have that you wouldn't have necessarily considered. Planning, I think, is so important, even as we're younger, because we need to save money, certainly for aging and also for those remodeling things if we do want to engage in those projects. So if stairs, for example, are not suitable moving ahead, there are things like electric stair lifts or even elevators, but they can be expensive and they can also impact your home resale value. Some newer homes, for example, those in 55+ communities, have something called universal design features. So these are entrances, for example, without steps to get up. So it would be easy if someone was in a wheelchair. Having a bedroom and a full bathroom on the main floor. Having a bath or shower that has a non-slip surface. Also, they're called zero threshold showers. So you can walk into them or even wheel into them without having to worry about a threshold to get over, which can be very challenging as well. Other examples are having open floor plans, wider doorways and hallways, easier to use cabinet handles. And that's another thing that we'll talk about a little bit more during our program, but things like light switches and cabinet handles, if you have to turn knobs, same with faucets, those can be difficult. So you may want to consider changing some things like that, which again, you can find replacements on Amazon with very little expense. Now, another thing that's very important is vision and lighting as we age. There are simple things, again, like lighting that can make a huge difference. And for example, to help prevent falls, you know, both as I was mentioning just earlier about the shower, installing handrails in a shower, for example, can be very important, but also having better lighting and using non-glare lights. Now, you can buy things like puck lights on Amazon now, which I am a huge fan of. They're like pot lights, but you can just stick them on. They come with that double-sided tape onto pretty much any surface. I put them inside of cabinet doors so I can see inside of my kitchen cabinets better. And we have them also in our closets. But you can also take them off very easily. So in the event of a power outage, you have additional flashlights. The best part about them is that many of them are dimmable, and they also come with features where you can switch from warm to cool lighting. Also, these LED lights work on batteries. You don't have to rewire anything, and you can easily change the batteries as you need to. Again, back to that being able to switch between the warm and the cool. So the warm is more of a pinkish light, and a cool light is more of a bluish light. That makes a very big difference for people that have any kind of macular degeneration or vision issues, or even cataracts, or if you wear glasses like myself. And you'll notice certainly if you have them, that it can make quite a big difference. For example, people with cataracts can sometimes have more of a yellow in their vision and how it is that they see. And so they might respond better to either a warm or a cool light. So there is a science behind it. I've put them above floor moldings, actually in bathrooms. They also come with remote controls. So you can use them as night lights as well. I've seen people who put them between steps so that it's, again, less of a fall hazard. If you want to get fancy, you can control it as well with your phone. They have these lights that you can control with apps on your phone. But a basic set of about 6 on Amazon will cost you about 20 batteries, and batteries for the year, maybe $20 there and 20 for the lights. So for me, it's been a very worthy investment. I also wanted to say that as we get older, some simple things like changing a light bulb can become more difficult. So even, switching out light bulbs for ones that last longer is a very simple and easy way to make your home not only more energy efficient, but age friendly. We don't think about that, but I had a cousin who recently fell trying to change a light bulb. She slipped on a tile. And so they do make these light bulbs that you can put into the incandescent typical light, as you see here in the bottom, but they have LED lights. So they're much more energy efficient. And they also allow you to switch between that warm and the cool lighting. I heard recently, actually, you can even get them at the dollar store. So the other thing too is night lights. Many of us think of them maybe from when we were growing up, but they can make a big difference in preventing falls as we age. When my mother-in-law comes to visit, there are night lights that go up everywhere. And those I do get at the dollar store. They do make them with LED lights as well, so you don't have light bulbs. And another thing, flooring. If you have flooring that is high gloss, it can be reflective and it can distort our vision. So it's very important to consider that as well. Our home is very bright and our floors almost sometimes look like a mirror. So we also buy gripper socks, which we provide to guests when they come to our house, because I don't want to be sued if someone falls. So I think it's a great idea, though, because it certainly keeps myself and everyone around me more safe. And it's, again, a very inexpensive little idea of something you can use in your home at present. So have a lot of ideas and tips and information, and I've been talking a while. I was curious if anyone participating has any other tips that they may want to share that we can learn from. Anything that you're doing to make your home more comfortable.
This is your opportunity, excuse me, to press *6 if you're on the phone, or to chat or to unmute yourself. And I can see on my website, who's doing that, and we'll call upon you. We'd love to hear from you. As I've said before, this always makes our presentation so much richer when our caregivers share with us. Hi, Katrina, welcome.
Welcome.
Did you want to talk? Did you want to tell us something?
I'll share something that I recently discovered. Orthopedic sandals.
Is that walk on water shoes?
They make a whole different litany of them, but having had the knee surgeries, the cushioning that they provide really helps to diffuse the pressure in my knees at times. And I won't wear them out because they're not very attractive, but my gosh, are they comfortable. And the soles of them are rubber. So that's, again, a very good thing to have in your house.
Elliot, I might add that if people feel like they need a home evaluation and don't quite know what to do themselves, they can ask their doc for a referral to home health and ask for a home evaluation. And an OT will usually come out after a nurse case manager who kind of checks you out and makes sure that you really need something or you don't need something. So be sure and talk to your doc first if you need a home eval.
Absolutely. That's why I mentioned earlier that as well as your AAA, are amazing resources in your local community if there shouldn't be someone available through the AARP's certified aging in place specialist.
Anybody else?
Folks at the AAAs are so well equipped and handle so many issues related to this, even driving. I work with many occupational therapists who help people as they age adjust things in their cars so that they can see better, that they are less distracted by things around them.
Thank you for that. I just want to mention that I almost fell the other day because I have floors. It's hard work, but I have a carpet, and I kind of tripped over the carpet, and so I'm very cautious not to go that route again. So anything that's sort of, any small carpets are really something that you should be looking into and maybe possibly removing.
We're going to talk about that with falls prevention a little later in the hour.
Yes, I know that you are. I'm just telling you what happened to me yesterday. It was on my mind. Yeah, for sure. We received questions. This is really an interesting one. It's kind of made me chuckle a little bit. And it goes like this. My husband and I had been thinking of moving into a 55 plus community before the coronavirus outbreak. Our plans are on hold, which is giving us more time to think about our options. There are pros and cons to some of these 55 plus communities we have explored. I'm concerned about too many rules and regulations, but more so that living among so many old people will just age me. What do you think? Well, thank you for your question. I think that 55 plus communities can be great. And in terms of aging, I think quite the opposite, to tell you the truth. The 55 plus activities, adult communities have become popular to many older adults who want to downsize after retirement, and those wanting to have a new chapter in life, doing something different. There are rules and restrictions, yes, and they do vary. Remember that these communities are designed for people who want serene environments full of physical and social activities to make their lives better and healthier in their retirement age. So there may be rules about children at the pool, and if you have grandchildren, then it's something you should consider. There are many advantages too. You don't have to worry about a lot of those maintenance, house maintenance, whether it's basic lawn care, leaf removal, driveway maintenance, or interior repairs and roof repairs. They are taken care of by the staff. You will not have to worry over the gardens, the lawns, appliances, and driveways, as they are maintained in proper shape by staff designated to do just those types of jobs. Because you don't have to spend time addressing those things, residents in these activities, communities enjoy an active lifestyle, and the goal is to make the residents physically and mentally active. There are fitness centers, golf courses, gyms, facilities, swimming pools, recreation room, and exercises to make an experience, to make it a wonderful one. Some offer transportation to local shopping areas and medical centers and day trips. Of course, this all comes at a high price, which is reflected through a monthly maintenance or a homeowner's associated fee. There's also a sense of community in these active adult communities, which can enhance our quality of life and well-being, something we all know and we surely missed in light of the coronavirus. So, a lot of people are opting for that. In some 55 plus communities, residents have support services when they need them. Example of support services might include housekeeping, running errands, meal preparation, pet care, and community management. Many of these community houses, apartments, and common space have been designed to support aging in place and include the universal design featured, discussed earlier by Elliot. So there's, newer 55 plus communities have additional smart technology features that enhance safety and security. There are also some other things to consider, for example, hurricane preparedness. How does the community prepare if your home needs to be closed? Does someone take care of it, or is it everything, everything impacts the residents? So there are good questions to be asked and considering, since many of these communities focus on community and shared space. There are many good reasons to consider these communities as good options, and it's important to go and visit them and talk with residents if they're open to speaking. It's hard to know where you'll feel most comfortable, so you're the one that has to do a little bit of research. Remember too that many apartment communities that are not 55 plus offer many of the same amenities and convenience. It's good to have options to be able to consider them. I think that one of the secrets to aging as healthfully as possible is to remain as youthful as possible, is exercise. A body in motion stays in motion. So whatever you decide, try to keep that in mind. That's actually one of the best features of many 55 plus communities are their fitness facilities with staff that have expertise in working with older adults and classes designed for physical limitations or injuries. So I've said an awful lot, and there's a lot to be said about these communities, but I'm just wondering, does anyone experience or are living in a 55 community and you would like to share some of the pros and cons?
You can press *6 if you're on the phone. I can see you've opened your phone, and if you're on the Zoom, you can unmute yourself, put your hand up, or what's the other thing? Go to the chat room.
You can go to the chat box too.
Yeah. Well, so Lucy, what was the answer to that woman's question?
Well, I mean, really, it's interesting. The answer is primarily no, I don't think so. I think if anything, it encourages to stay young because it kind of encourages you to participate in a lot of things that if you were more isolated and didn't have the opportunity to do so, you probably wouldn't. But it's an interesting question because I've heard it many times from much older people than I am who say to me, I don't want to go over there. They're all a bunch of old people, and probably most of them are even younger than they are. So it's a perception that we have of ourselves, and there's pros and cons to that. If you feel that you're really young and vibrant, even though you might look 95, that's okay. That's okay too. Personally, I always like to be in a place where I'm surrounded not only people of my age. I love being with younger people as well, and even children. So it's really a preference of who you are. Some people don't really want to have a lot of kids running around and being noisy. So this is why you have to decide and you have to look what is good for you, and how do you want to live out your life.
Great answer.
Any comments on that from the participants?
Yeah, please. I think I've said it enough times. You probably know what to do if you're on the phone or if you're Zoom. We would love to hear from you. It really enriches our podcasts and our knowledge all across the board. Okay, next time.
Well, Lucy, your comments today really actually made me think quite a bit. Ahead of COVID, I worked on university campuses my whole career, ever since I was a university student myself. And I always felt like it was the environment of youth on a campus that helped to keep me young. But I've been working remotely since 2019, just ahead of the pandemic. And what I've realized is that's not at all true. We are who we are. And in a way, I kind of feel like my Pilates studio has become my 55 plus community because I am one of the few males and definitely one of the youngest people there. And I feel inspired by all of the older women around me and their mobility, their strength, their commitment to being healthy. It's really quite inspiring. Another thing I think that's very important for people to think about are friends. It's much harder to make friends as we get older. And one of the benefits, I think, of these 55 plus communities is just that they are communities and they have a lot of opportunities for social interaction. But if you're living in a community presently where you have a lot of friends and you would be moving away from them. That could be a deterrent in and of itself. And I think it's something that people don't really think too much about. The other thing that I was going to mention, because it's something I'm very sensitive to where I live in South Florida, is diversity. And we certainly have no shortage of 55 plus communities in South Florida or in Florida in general, but many of them are not very diverse. There's a very large 55 plus community. It's on many, many acres, not far from where I live. And what's wonderful about it is that they provide transitional care. So you can move there and move into a self-contained home. And as you age and may need more help, you can move into a condo type building that has the option of care, or as you need it. They also have nursing home facilities on site or assisted living. But what struck me is that in the last couple of months, they've been having concerts at their community to help draw in a more diverse community. They've been having a lot of like Hispanic music and famous Latin artists performing. And I think it's wonderful, but what happens when that initiative stops? Who has actually moved in there as a result of these efforts? Is it really a diverse community? So I think these are things that we need to consider as we age, and as more and more people are aging and are from diverse backgrounds. So think of where you feel most at home. Another option that may be of interest too is to look at gated communities or townhome communities that might not strictly focus on 55 plus. I always grew up in townhome communities. Everything was taken care of by a condo association, which is why I never learned how to mow a lawn or do simple home repairs, and have now learned that in my older age. But I think that was really the point for my parents. They didn't have to be responsible for everything, which gave them more time to do other things. And that's really the end goal here, I think, for many people. Cable and internet, pest control, yard work, snow removal, even negotiating prices for those things get taken care of by an association for you. And that's really a key.
Well, I think that the idea of 55 plus communities brings up the issue of community and how important community is in supporting health and independent aging. You know, you can have the most accessible house with ramps and other things, but if you are living in the middle of the country with no car, that can be a big issue. It's important to consider the community in which you're living or thinking of living. Age-friendly communities encourage accommodations for senior populations through, many initiatives. Ensuring infrastructure in place to support seniors' needs, including retirement communities, geriatric programs at hospitals, and doctors whose specialty is in geriatric medicine. Ensuring public transportation is easily accessible and affordable for seniors, keeping the walkways and sidewalks well lit and clear of snow or ice, municipality bylaws to ensure buildings have automatic door openers, elevators, stairs, railings, and ramps, senior involvement in community activities. I live in a community back here in Montreal with a high percentage of seniors living here. And it's so important that there are very simple programs that have been developed to support seniors. For example, there's Hello program where isolated seniors get a call from volunteers just to check up on them. And a lot of seniors are also very involved in decision-making in our small community that we live in regards to different issues. So I think you just have to kind of find, where do you fit in? What would make you happiest in?
Our police departments here, and I think in many places, actually have a program called Retired Seniors and Volunteer Programs. And you can sign up for those with your local police or sheriff's department, and they will, they will send someone out to screen you, and your home to see what you need, and then send a trained volunteer once a week to have a visit with you and check up and make sure everything's okay. So I think our RSVP program is like your hello program.
Sounds like it.
Here, there's something, well, actually, it exists everywhere through FEMA, but it's called Community Emergency Response Teams, CERT.
Mhm.
And if you live in a hurricane area, it's great to get in touch with your local CERT, because then that way, again, they come out to your home, they assess if you're in a high risk area, they will reach out and help if an emergency is going to hit. I think one of the reasons that Hurricane Ian was not as deadly as it could have been is because South Florida and Southwest Florida, especially in Lee County, where they have so many seniors, they did have a lot of senior focused programs. They were an age-friendly community. So I think that's something that is important that we pay mind to as we're thinking of retirement plans or where it is that we're living at present. And I think COVID actually really increased attention to the importance of that. And I know we hate to keep talking about COVID, but if you think about where stores had designated shopping hours for seniors or even designated medical
Right.
care or COVID testing, you know, that was a huge telltale sign of what places did have designated resources for seniors and which didn't. Miami, for example, where I used to live and work, is an age-friendly community. And there are more than 450 towns, cities, and counties enrolled in the AARP network of age-friendly states and communities. Again, we'll provide that link after our program today. But I get monthly newsletters, for example, of programs from Miami, and I'm always amazed by the array of supports and programs, and also focus on diversity, as I mentioned. You know, we need to remember that aging in place and modifying our homes isn't only about what our home is like physically. Our home exists in a community. And this is also true for our bodies, if you think about it. Our bodies are our homes. And we need to make a practice of treating our bodies well, eating well, exercising, and we always go back to it. But I think exercise really supports healthy aging wherever you're aging. It's something we take with us if our body is our home. So that's again why I think Pilates is so popular among seniors right now, because it focuses on our balance and stability, which so much research has found to reduce falls and the impact of falls if they do happen. I remember when I began working in community health, I ran one of Miami's first healthy aging programs, which was a falls prevention program back in 2008. And I wanted to talk about this because, as I said, we take ourselves with us wherever we go, even if we're not in our homes that we have, you know, customized to help us age in place well. So preventing falls is so, so critical. 1 out of 3 seniors fall each year, but fewer than half of them report it to their doctors. And falls are the #1 cause of serious injuries in seniors. I heard a joke today, actually, that the #1 cause of injuries in seniors was not recognizing that you're a senior, was thinking that you're still young. But, you know, it is true. And as the #1 cause of serious injuries, falls result in hip fractures, cuts, even serious head injuries and brain injuries. And while there's, you know, certainly serious injuries with a fall, sometimes it can be minimal, but I still believe a fall is quite frightening and very jarring, and people will avoid activities moving forward because they're afraid that they'll fall again. I think there's a trauma in falling, and that is built into our human mechanism. I was in a Pilates class yesterday working on my stability and balance, and I thought I was going to fall, and you know, everything goes up and out because we anticipate, and that's just our body's defense mechanism, so to speak, ingrained to make sure that we minimize impact if we do fall. So this brings us to a very important point in our program today, and I'm sure many of you have seen Life Alert commercials over the years, that device that you wear on a lanyard around your neck. and the woman falls and says, help, I've fallen and I can't get up. Well, we don't need those anymore. We've come a long way, baby. Technology really eliminates the need for devices like that. And many people don't realize it, but if you have a smartphone, you can activate voice commands that will allow you to say, hey, Siri, call, and I won't say the number because my phone will actually dial it. But we all know that number. You can also get a Google Home device or an Alexa. And today I believe it's an Amazon Prime sale day, so I'm sure they're on sale. I know that these devices can be controversial because there's a sense of someone always listening to you. I heard a joke that these people were telling, a joke to one another. He laughed, she laughed, Alexa laughed. But so, I know that there are concerns, but if you can get over that, these devices can be critical because they can dispatch help and they know by listening to your voice. So they can also help. For example, I mentioned those knee issues earlier. Well, when I have a flare up, it's hard to sometimes get up or down. So these devices can also help you control your thermostat, your lights. It's really quite amazing. I can even tell mine to do my laundry for me if it's in the washing machine and what to do. But these things can be very, very helpful as we age. And I know that technology can be intimidating. But Best Buy, as an example, they have amazing geek squads that will come out to your home, set everything up. I didn't know how to set anything up. They came out and did all of that for us. But it's a great thing to have because, for example, always take your smartphone with you or your iPhone into the bathroom with you when you shower. Many people don't because they're afraid of the humidity damaging their phone. But most falls happen in the shower, and that way you can say, hey, call for whatever you need. So back to Lucy's rug, we do have some tips to help prevent falls from home, and one of them is removing any hazards. So the first tip will be to clean up clutter. A lot of people have clutter in their hallways. We don't really think about that. But if you have stacks of magazines or anything that may be a tripping hazard, evaluate that. You want to repair or remove tripping hazards. And sometimes, having uneven surfaces on our floors can also lead to back pain and other injuries. So take a look at your room and your hallway. Look for things like loose carpet, loose tiles, slippery throw rugs, Lucy, or perhaps wood floorboards that may be sticking up. It's important to get these things repaired because they are tripping hazards. We had gone to Key West a couple of years ago during the pandemic and stayed in a very, very old house. And not one of the tiles was level or even. And it really did a number on my knees. So again, I speak from experience, as did the low toilet. So these things really do make a difference. I had talked earlier about installing grab bars or handrails. These safety devices are so important to help you. And again, there are provisions. If your doctor does recommend that you have an assessment, for example, you can work with your local AAA. Certain home improvements like installing grab bars are covered by some insurance. So it's very, very important. You also want to think about avoiding wearing really loose, flowy, billowy clothing that might cascade onto the floor. I know many of us have become very comfortable in baggy clothes since the pandemic and loungewear and long robes and stuff like that that make us feel cozy, especially as we head into fall and winter. But think about the length of these things. Many older people sometimes shrink as we age. And if you have a robe that is cascading onto the floor, that can be a tripping hazard. So
Especially stairs.
Yes, exactly. So these are things that most people don't really think much about, but they're very important, back to lighting, lighting is another major hazard. Mood lighting, not conducive to safety. Install those brighter light bulbs where you need them. Also, if you have things like narrow hallways, they can help to make getting around much easier. I talked about those puck lights that I have. They're fantastic. They do double duty as hurricane flashlights, and you don't need to rewire anything. So if you're in a rental, they're a wonderful, wonderful option. The other thing that I mentioned were those gripper socks. They really help to prevent falls. And wearing shoes at home can be one of the best ways to prevent falls. Socks, if you wear them at home, can actually be a slipping risk because they can be a little bit slick. So get socks that have the grip soles on them. They're sometimes sold as Pilates socks, but they really, really are very helpful. I can't recommend it enough. Lighting and wearing shoes that have good tread are extremely important. My grandmother, bless her, always used to enjoy her mood lighting because it helped her look younger. And she always used to wear slippers at home with a kitten heel. And she was forever black and blue. She always fell, and cute as those kitten heels were, they didn't look very good with black and blue legs. So yeah. So, and remember, it's easier to bruise as we get older too. So these are really important things, I think, to think about. I've talked a bit before about surfaces of your floors. Carpets can be great if you do have laminate flooring, or if you're looking to put that in. Choose something that has a non-skid finish or that has some grooves or texture to it. Tiles, for example, that have texture, same with laminate floors, they help to prevent falls. If you have something that is very slick, obviously easier to fall. And Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi at home, having your smartphone devices, these are very, very important because they can help to dispatch help if you need it. There is a wonderful organization that we learned of called PAPA. They are based out of Miami here locally, and that's how I learned of them. And you can call them anywhere in the country. And the number is 1-800-348-7951. And it's a group of college students who came up with this app and this company, which is designed to help seniors in their homes integrate technology and to become more familiar with technology. Their services are either free or on a sliding scale, and they work with groups all over the country. So it's really, really cool. I'm sure there are a lot of other similar types of groups and organizations that I may not personally know of, but this is one that does work with communities around the country. And again, always speak with your doctor or certainly reach out to your AAA. They can do an assessment and help you to determine what you might need to change around your home. Whew, a lot of information there.
That's great information.
Yeah, that is a lot. Well, I'm going to talk about something that is of great concern to many people about housing costs. Okay, we've talked about all these wonderful 55 plus communities, and it's great if you are in the position to be able to afford to do that. But this is a big issue, as well as the cost of long-term care. So one of the greatest challenges to our aging anywhere, but especially if it comes in aging in place, is ensuring that housing is affordable. So here are some really statistics that are right up there. As Elliot mentioned earlier, affordability is and is likely to remain a significant obstacle to aging in place. In 2014, 31% of older households were cost burdened. For example, they spent more than 30% of their income on housing. I can't even imagine what the figure is today. And research hasn't been able to keep up with the inflation each month, holding cost burden shares by age, race, ethnicity. The Joint Center for Housing Studies of Harvard University projects that by 2035, 17.1 million older households will be house cost burdened, and 8.5 million of these households will be spending more than 50% of their income on housing. Okay, it's scary. Given lower income, older renters are more likely to be cost burdened. However, with a home ownership rate approaching 80% of older owners are more numerous and make up the majority of cost-burdened older households. In particular, owners who carry mortgages into older age, a trend that has increased over the past 20 years, are higher risk of experiencing unaffordable housing. Households that are house cost burdened typically cope by cutting back on other necessities such as food, healthcare, transportation, medication. These trade-offs put older adults' health at risk and limit their opportunity to engage in their communities and access needed services. So for homeowners, the challenge of high house costs might be met with early financial planning. No matter, that it's so important. Reverse mortgages or refinancing, relief from property taxes, or help increase home energy efficiency and lowering utility costs. Talking about that, I was on the phone with my Bell carrier. That's what I couldn't believe the bill that I got this month. I was on the phone for an hour trying to reduce it and really trying to sort of maybe cut back on my land phone. Renters have fewer options as rental subsidies are in short supply. It is projected by 2035, the number of older adults eligible for rental housing subsidies will grow to 7.6 million from just under 7 million today. So currently, the nation provides subsidies to only about 1/3 of these eligible. Simply maintaining the level for seniors in 2035 would require providing subsidies to an additional 1.3 million households, which would make them double the number of older people who are being assisted today. So there is a problem. So it's, we would all love to age in place. But it's something that you really need to plan, make sure that you have the resources and make sure of what you can afford. So this is why our future session and this series will discuss how to make educated and comfortable decisions about when it's time to consider long-term care or independent living facilities, and what kinds of things you need to consider, as well as how to pay for them. Finally, our last session in our series will discuss family dynamics that become so important as more and more intergenerational families are living together, as well as families of choice. So we said an awful lot today. And there are resources. I'm going to let Elliot maybe talk a little bit more about the resources, and then maybe we can see if somebody has any questions or any comments they would like to share.
Sure. Very quickly, I want to say also in the wake of Hurricane Ian, something we don't think about. Anyone that owns a property in Florida should anticipate a 20 to 40% increase in their homeowners insurance in the next year as a result of this, whether you were impacted by the storm or not. So there are things that, that happen that we need to be prepared for. So my one takeaway for everyone participating today is padding. Padding is important for our joints and our knees if you're going to buy orthopedic flip-flops or footwear, but padding, financial padding, is very important as we age, because we need to be able to not panic if something, like I just mentioned with homeowners insurance, if our premiums go up that much, that we have the cushioning to be able to afford that comfortably. All of the resources are here. They are all hyperlinked. So when you get the PDF of our slides today, you can actually just toggle over any one of the resources. And if you click on them, it'll take you to the website, as I just did now. So with that, I will leave it to you, Evelyn. I know you probably have some announcements to make. And if anyone has any last comments or questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box.
Thank you. Thank you both so much. Elliot, I might add one little thing about people who have painful feet. I've got tens of thousands of miles on my feet because I love to walk. And when I'm at home, unfortunately, I put in a beautiful marble floor when I was much younger, and it hurts my feet. So I got some $9 memory foam to stuff in my slipper. which really, really helps. Just another
Yeah.
little, yeah.
It makes a difference. I think that that's what's in the orthopedic sandals I got for in-home, and that cushioning really makes a huge difference.
It does. So for those of you who are with us, I want to let you know that in a couple of days, you'll be getting a post-session questionnaire. It'll have all the resources, as Elliot said, unless you're not registered for this session. Sometimes people get a phone number or a URL from a friend and they're not registered, but if you're not, you won't get the resources. So please call our customer service 866-390-6491 if you're not registered. And we encourage you to really fill out that post-session questionnaire when you get it, because it helps us improve, to try to improve all the time what we're doing and how we do it. And I would also like to thank our expert speakers for another beautiful job, all this information that helps everyone out. I know I have a list now to take with me and share with friends. I also like to thank those of you who participated today. We appreciate you so much. And I would like to let you know that there are many new sessions that have been added. I'm going to tell you just about the topics of some of them, because we're still toward the end of the beginning of the month, and we have so many topics this month. So of course, there's Lucy and Elliot's 2 that are coming up in the next 2 Wednesdays, very important ones. We also have Lucy is going to present on how to handle hygiene challenges for persons tomorrow.
With dementia.
Sorry, didn't read the second line. And then we've got a Spanish presentation on next Tuesday, the 18th. It's called The Basic Concepts of Medicare. And that will all be in Spanish for those of you who are monolingual or understand better, when a presentation is in Spanish. On October 20th, that's a Thursday, we have a Talk with Doc Hospice Q&A. We'll answer your questions about, so many things like what's the difference between palliative care and hospice, and, when should you do what? So you get to ask all your questions. On Tuesday, October 25th, we have Managing Aging Adults with Personality Disorder with Barry Jacobs, who's a psychologist. And then on Thursday, the 27th, we have Taking Off Your Mask with Dr. Jamie Heisman. And he has kind of led up to this over the last couple of months, talking about how to really be honest with yourself and honest with all your words. Impeccable is his term. So we've got some wonderful presentations. And with that, I just want to say thank you so much to the WellMed Charitable Foundation for all they do, for the podcasts, for the planning for this, for Minerva, who is our go-to person when anything's wrong. And also, I want to thank each and every one of you for what you do. So have a great and a safe day, and we hope that you will join us again soon. Elliot, we see anything?
Be well, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Evelyn. Thanks, Minerva. Thanks, Lucy. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for participating.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.